The State Department's transforming its technology operation to try to serve its end users better. It's calling the transformation Tech for Life. Kelly Fletcher is the Chief Information Officer at the State Department. Kelly, welcome. Thanks for coming on the program. You gave me an outline of Tech for Life on the FedGov Today podcast a little while ago. That's in the archives at fedgovtoday.com. Give me a thumbnail of what you're doing with Tech for Life right now.
So what we're trying to do is enable our folks who are traveling all the time, right? They're going to a post overseas, they're going to Nairobi, they're going to Baghdad, they're going to Beijing, they're going somewhere for a year, maybe 3 years, and then they're coming back to the States, and then they're going out to another place. And the challenge they've really had is that they haven't had their government-issued devices. Those devices were associated with that location. What we want to do is enable folks, when they're at home, to still be connected to the State Department. So what we're doing is we started a pilot. I'm really excited. Over 1,000 State Department employees are going to get a device, and it's going to be theirs. It's going to be associated with them. We're going to refresh it. You know, in a couple years, we'll come back and give them a new one. But no matter where they go, they're going to bring that device with them.
How big is this pilot? 1,000 out of how many?
Oh, yeah. 1,000 out of, tens of thousands. So, frankly, this is the first group, and we're doing it this summer, where we're just seeing what goes wrong. You know what I mean? And there are some places where maybe they shouldn't be bringing a phone. There's all sorts of details, and this is how we're getting the devices into users' hands and then just learning from them as they take the device with them.
What do you hope to learn, and how will you know what you've learned to decide how to scale next, how to make it enterprise-wide, and so on?
So the first thing is we have heard a very strong demand from users for this. But they can access a lot of their email. They can access, their email and then a lot of other capabilities on their personal phone now. And so I think in the past this has been more important, but now they can use their personal phone. So one thing we're curious about is when we say this is optional, you're responsible for the device, right? You got to bring it with you. How many folks really want this? And I'll tell you, I think with phones, we are going to get 100% participation. I think with laptops, we may not. And so part of this is to gauge the interest.
How does this turn, or does it turn into a full-blown bring-your-own-device program? Is it similar? You're not calling it the same thing, obviously.
Yeah, not at all. So these are government-issued devices. They're owned by the government. We say the user is responsible, but they're owned by the government. The thing I really like about it is that it's a device that we make sure has all the cybersecurity in place that we need. It's a device that we manage. And it's a device that we make sure that we replace it. So something that I've seen is that in some posts, everybody has brand new phones. I feel really good about the posture of those phones. In other posts, they've decided to save money and maybe, not refresh phones as often. This gives us the power to make sure that, globally, everything is refreshed at the same rate.
That's where I wanted to follow up on. You then have control over that refresh cycle, it sounds like. Is that right?
That's right. So I recently had what I would call a Jurassic Park moment where I looked at, sort of the posture phones we said. I said, how many 14s do we have? How many of this do we have? And then I didn't even think to ask about phones from, 8 years ago.
Right.
That was my mistake. We have been very inconsistent in our refresh.
What will drive that consistency? Is it just you taking a top-down approach, or is there some other element there that's going to be important?
So part of it is honestly oversight. So there'll be a subset of users where we have a top-down approach where I know that you're up for a new phone, I give you a new phone. My team does that. Part of it is as we raise, raise the level of requirements, we do oversight. We know what's on our network. We see these phones and we just say no, we're not doing that anymore. I'll give you a new one.
Yeah. We talked a little bit before we went on the air about your procurement leader at State, Mike Darios. I imagine in this kind of an effort that's going to eventually be an enterprise-wide effort, he's going to be a really important partner for you.
Absolutely. So Mike's support as we work on Evolve, which is our big new contract that we're still in the middle of awarding, he has been critical in that. And then also our contracts with just hardware specific, right? We buy a lot of laptops, we buy a lot of phones, we buy a lot of tablets. Mike's a really valuable partner as we do that fairly.
What will you see, what does this look like in a mature state, Kelly? What do you see in that mature state that's dramatically different today for the end user, not just for the back office?
I love this. So I'm really focused on the end user. I think every end user is going to have a piece of government furnished equipment that is the piece of equipment they want, whether that's a phone or a laptop or both, and also a variety of kinds of laptops, right? people have different likes and dislikes, and that they bring that with them wherever they go. And that's the big change, is that they have it, it's in their possession, and that it's refreshed at a consistent and predictable pace. So right now there's a lot of sort of bargaining, oh, but I want a new one, but why did he get a new? We're not doing that. It gets refreshed at the same rate.
Mm-hmm. How is the security posture that you'll have to take under this similar or different to the security posture that you worked with in your last post at the Department of Defense?
Yeah, so at DoD, we also manage devices, and we used a lot of the same tools. So we are moving to use almost exactly the same set of tools at the State Department that we used at DoD to manage these devices and to manage folks accessing everything they need to access from wherever they are in the world.
How will you know this is a success? At what point in time will you be able to say this transformation is on track the way we want it to be, or maybe we need to regroup and go in a different direction?
So when all of the devices that are owned by, a post that are outdated are not on my network. When we scan the network and we can see everything is up to date, everything is managed, and we have consistency whatever region you're in.
And you have that visibility into what your network looks like now.
I love this question. So we have a big enterprise network and we have great visibility. We partner with Diplomatic Security on this. They are wonderful partners. The one place where we have some challenges with visibility is we have some non-enterprise networks. And there are things that have been stood up over the years. We had some latency in the network. There have been a variety of reasons that these non-enterprise networks were stood up. We are really working hard to say we're either going to censor those and have visibility, or they're going to get hoovered into our enterprise network.
What are you doing structurally in your office to support this effort, the Tech for Life, to support Evolve and some of the other things? Are you moving chairs around? Are you moving reports around and so on to restructure the IRM office?
Yeah, we are really proud of this transformation that we're undertaking at IRM. So it's been approved, it's underway, and honestly, it's a big focus of what we're doing. Historically, we had, foreign ops and ops. And I think that made sense when we stood up that construct. And right now, when you look at what we're doing overseas and what we're doing domestically, it's very similar. So what happened is we had good, smart people who were like, hey, I'm going to be an expert on overseas telephones. That makes sense. And then we had good, smart people say, I'm going to be an expert on, domestic telephones. We need telephone experts. So these folks should sit together. Mm-hmm. And some of that has happened already. We've been combining teams. But this, I think, is really going to make it easier for us to say, this is ops and this is development. Mm-hmm. So we are standing up, instead of foreign ops and ops, we'll have enterprise services and enterprise infrastructure. And that gets after not only combining these like with like, but also really helping to divide up, you're operating the network day in, day out, or you're building a new solution.
What's the state of the workforce that you need to be able to deliver on that vision for all the tech things that we talked about, but also for the structural issues that you just described?
So first I would say, I didn't know what to expect when I got to state, and I got an amazing workforce. I just inherited motivated, smart, technically savvy people. So I want more of the same kind of folks I have, both civil service and foreign service. What I would like to do in this venue is just say the foreign service IT pro job is maybe the coolest job in the government. If you're, technically savvy, have some technical skills, you have a love of adventure, you can live overseas and be the IT pro. Be the person who makes sure that ambassador can communicate with everyone they need to. And you can live all over the world. It is, I honestly, if I had known about this job, this would be my job. It's the best job in the government.
Have you seen an uptake in people interested in doing that, given what we're seeing in the private sector with tech jobs?
I have seen that we are getting pretty good recruitment right now. So we had a full class of IT pros coming on board. And I don't know that we can draw directly back to the tech sector, but I think folks are looking at the world and they're trying to figure out how they can contribute. Mm-hmm. And this is a really cool way to contribute.
30 seconds left, Kelly. You won't be the CIO at the State Department forever. Not that I want you to leave that job anytime soon, but at the end of your tenure, what will you judge to see if you've been a success in your own mind?
So silent running. I want things to work. People come into the office, everything works. They don't even notice that it's working. Just every day, day in, day out. Operational excellence. That's thing one. Thing two, a modern network, right? I want to stop routing things through DC. I want folks to go exactly where they need to go. And then the third thing, success with tech for life. I want my user experience to be wonderful, both end user devices and then also applications.
Kelly Fletcher, it's great to talk to you. Thanks very much for coming in.